What's up, guys, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Alex.
And together, we are FnA Van Life.
This is the show where every week we bring you news from the nomadic community or interviews with other nomads so you can know what it's really like to live life on the road.
And like we say always, we've had many years living life on the road, and it's not over for us yet. We're still doing a fair amount of it, but we're just doing it a little bit differently now.
We are about to do a 10-day van trip in Europe, which we're super excited about, and we'll bring you guys all the details about that after it's done.
Yeah, we will. And today's episode is actually about how van life is not cheap anymore, and we're going to tell you why.
Yeah, so when we originally got into the lifestyle, we started dreaming about it in 2018, bought our first van in 2019, built the whole thing out that year, and then got on the road in 2020, which was a great time to start traveling full time.
Back in 2018, we purchased a van for $3,000.
It was listed for $4,000, and we talked him down.
I think it was listed for $6,000.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and we talked it down to $3,000. And the crazy part about it is that, like, I don't think you could find that van anymore for that price.
Well, the used car market exploded. Mm-hmm. There was like this certain point in history when the used car market just went bananas for every type of car, van or not van. And I don't think the prices ever really recovered from that. And also the popularity of the lifestyle has just exploded. So people were just picking up Sprinters and Transits and ProMasters left, right, and center. So, it's very popular.
Well, and so we had a huge demand for vans like this, not only for the van life community, but for also the people that were going to be doing businesses. Mm-hmm. So the people with businesses plus the van life community made this huge reliance of these vehicles being readily available. And as they got more scarce, the price went up.
I feel like you're so far away from me, Frank. Can you come a little closer?
Oh, yeah, sure. I would love to be closer.
I just want the folks to be able to see both of us.
Hi, we're here together.
Hi. If you're listening to the podcast on podcasty stuff, we also have a podcast video that goes out with it that you can catch on YouTube or Spotify.
That's on our other channel, Frankie and Alex. And yeah, you can catch it there.
Mm-hmm. Buying a van has just become a little bit more expensive. Also, I think brand new cars, like everybody comes into van life with their own budget, right? Like some people want to spend $300,000 on a brand new build, and that's great for them. Like if that's within your means and your budget, then like go for it.
Yeah.
But other people don't have that kind of cash flow. And also, just make sure that you can make those monthly payments, because when you get on the road, your income might change a little bit.
And that's the reason why we're a huge proponent for buying something a little bit cheaper, fixing it up yourself if you have those skills, or just use YouTube University to figure it out. Because one, when you finish it, it's going to feel amazing. And two, you're going to know how to fix everything in it. So that's going to keep your costs down. The fact that your life is going to change completely and your job might change completely. You might not have an income the way that you did before, which means you might not be able to afford that payment. That might be $500, $600, $700, $800 if you buy a brand new rig.
Like, so when we had our Ram ProMaster, which was olive, which we do have a van build guide for sale on. So if you are interested in building your own van, you can come and check that out on our website. When we bought the ProMaster, we knew that we were getting into a more expensive vehicle because, like Frank said, our first vehicle was a couple of grand. We built it out all cash. We had absolutely no debt from our first van. Yeah. Our second van, we built the whole thing out cash. So everything, the van build was completely paid for. We didn't finance it or anything.
But we did still owe on the van itself. So we financed the van itself, which was about $500 a month.
Yeah, it was like $534 a month.
Yeah, almost $540.
Which is not bad. And then also we were going to Central America and we needed to hold the title of our vehicle because it's very important when you're traveling through these countries that you have your own title. When you owe money to the bank for your vehicle, you don't actually physically get your title. Correct. Right? So we did a little creative accounting and took out a personal loan from, I think it was American Express. They offered, it was like everything came in at the perfect time. Like they sent me an email and was like, we'll give you up to X amount of dollars for like this lower interest rate than our current car payment.
Basically, it made our payment from like $540 to like less than $400 if we paid it off with the loan and then paid the loan back. And the thing is like typically you're not supposed to do that with a personal loan, but we knew we had the cash technically available to pay it off. So we were just utilizing the loan so that way we had the money in the bank without having to like dip into our money that was going to take us all the way through Central America.
And then we would get the piece of paper that showed that we owned the vehicle.
Correct.
Because that was very important to us at the time. But yeah, I feel like it would be hard to get a vehicle that had like a $400 a month payment.
Well, the way that we looked at that $540 a month payment was that was our rent. So that was like our monthly rent that we would pay. And granted, in like New York City, you'd pay like $1,500 minimum.
Even our truck right now has a bigger payment than the Ram ProMaster
Well,
did.
and that's because of interest rates going up.
Yeah.
So like the reason why your monthly payment's so much higher than what it would be 5-6 years ago is because all the interest rates are out crazy. So we were paying a lot more money for a vehicle that might cost the same.
That's wild to me.
Yeah,
I
mean,
think our current truck payment is almost double what our payment was for our house.
It's the same with houses, but also at the same time, we're also paying. You're thinking Canadian dollars compared to U.S. dollars, also.
Yeah.
So it might be pretty similar or close.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll have to do some math on that. But anyways, whatever your budget
same
allows.
year.
Yeah.
Same
2019.
Yeah, same company in the sense of Ram, but a different vehicle.
Yeah, interesting. So anyways, just, be mindful of your budget and be mindful that, things can change on the road too. I find not necessarily that remote work is unstable, but also it's easier to fire somebody when they don't come into the office every day.
Yeah, you just don't know too. And I mean, that's the same for your regular 9-to-5 job. The only thing is that's been more stable to banks in the sense of loaning money. So like to them, it makes more sense to give a loan to somebody who is working a 9-to-5 because the chances are they're not going to lose their job. But if you're working for yourself, you have to motivate yourself to make the money for yourself. Where some people are really, really good at that and do much better than the 9-to-5er. But the bank looks at it as risky because there's so many people that try and fail.
We actually used our 1099s or whatever, W-2s from our corporate jobs because a full calendar year hadn't happened yet. So we hadn't filed our new income taxes yet. So we were able to use our previous jobs' money, what it looked like on paper, to get the financing for the Ram ProMaster.
Which was fair because we didn't have taxes for the following year yet, so we were allowed to do that.
Technically, yes, but also if they had looked at like what our current like income was just from FnA Van Life, they probably wouldn't have given us the loan.
They might have, but it would have been at a higher interest rate. Once again, that's the way it works. The less money you make, the higher your interest rate. And then eventually they won't even give you that amount of money, but they'll still give you a high interest rate. So maybe they'll give you half. But a higher interest rate, which is funny because when you have less money, you kind of need the less interest rate, but that's just the way it works. They want to secure finance.
For safety purposes, work within your means.
Yeah. Also, there's deals out there. So don't be completely discouraged by what we're saying in the sense of, the resale and the brand new rigs being more expensive. If you have a budget that you specifically are locked on, stick with that budget.
And you'll be able to find something within it. You just might have to make some concessions or do some DIY stuff. Which brings us to our next point, because DIY stuff has also gotten a little bit more expensive.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of things are more expensive, but some of it is less expensive. For instance, solar panels and lithium batteries have technically come down a lot because the technology has advanced so much. So you're going to get this much better cost benefit because they've figured out ways to make them last longer, work better. There's more people buying them, so there's more production with it, which brings the cost down ultimately. So some of the stuff you're going to have less cost, but other things like wood, you're going to have a higher cost.
And other products like Van Life staples, like for example, like a Max Air fan, it just costs more than it did 5 years ago.
It does by a lot, actually, kind of interestingly.
Yeah.
You would think, once again, it would be like one of those cost more is being made, so
that's like supply and demand, right? Like more people are making vans, more people are buying them, they can raise the price, and that is what it is.
It could be where it's coming from.
Yeah.
With the tariffs and taxes that are on all different types of things nowadays, there's a lot of reasons why stuff goes up in price and why others go down.
But there's also almost always a more affordable option.
Yes.
So you don't necessarily have to get the brand name, that everybody gets. Maybe you get an up and coming brand that's like just trying to get their name out, or they've just started production or whatever. Like you can find off-brand products that probably work just as well as the name brand products.
I would at least look at their reviews. Make sure that there's other people who have tested those things before, and then that way you could go, okay, yeah, this thing does look like it lasts for 10 years plus.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing when it comes to finding the less name product.
But again, I feel like you want to just make sure that you're staying with your budget. And like when you're building a van, I was actually going through our van build guide the other day to like, we're like updating all the links to make sure that you guys can like still shop it and things like that. But like there's a lot of stuff that goes into a van build, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like just all the little tiny components, like from piano hinges to refrigerators, like there's probably 100 different purchases that you're going to make when you're building out a van, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Like I feel like every day we were just ordering stuff online.
Yeah, and things that you're not thinking about and you're starting to build something, you go, oh, I need this. So there's going to be many things that you wind up go back to the drawing board and try again. And maybe there's a hinge that works better than another one. Like the way it opens gives you like another half an inch of space, and that allows you to be able to actually open the cupboard compared to not. You know, there's just so many little subtleties, or like maybe you want a controller that actually allows you to see exactly what type of power you have going on in your rig, because half the time we don't. And so it makes it harder to actually know what's happening with your battery banks.
But it still works.
Still works.
Yeah.
But we cut costs by not having the $500 display screen that tells us everything.
Right. But so what I was going to say is that like when you're making all these, like if you are going into a van build and you're going to be making all of these purchases, what we do is that we sign up for a new credit card.
Yeah.
Because usually these new credit cards have welcome offers. And especially in the States is huge for this. You could just Google like what's the best credit card offers. And there's so many different websites and blogs and things like that. They're going to like get 100,000 points if you spend $3,000 in the first, 3 months, whatever. And so if you're doing a van build, you're probably going to make the minimum spend.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
You're buying like, an $800 refrigerator and then like a $300 inverter and then, whatever.
Yeah, typically it's like a $3,000 limit for within the first 3 months.
Not like spend requirement.
Yeah, spend requirement. And then when you hit that spend requirement, which we already know you're going to do just by the electrical system. The electrical system itself is $3,000.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Even if you buy...
You could have a really, really, really basic.
Well, yeah, you could buy one of those little portable...
You could have no system.
I would actually say you could buy one of those little portable... Jackeries or Bluetti
with like one solar panel.
Yeah, that is just literally one unit, 1 or 2 solar panels. I would say beef it up as much as you can and try to get one that has the alternator charge set up to it. So that way, whenever you drive, you're using that energy to fill that up, and then you always have power on that guy. But yeah, I mean, you could get one of those where it costs you maybe $2,500. It's your whole system, but you're still $500 off of your requirement for spending.
Yeah, well, you just buy the wood to frame it in place, and you've hit your limit.
Done.
But yeah, so then you get the 100,000 points or whatever, like the bonus is, and then when you're on the road, if you need to book flights to get somewhere, or like if you want a hotel night because it's going to be minus 40 degrees outside, or some of these other like expenses pop up, or like travel related stuff, especially, then you have the points to be able to book a hotel night for free.
Yeah. I'll even say this. The one huge benefit of doing a DIY is the fact that you can get a credit card and put it on the credit card. Right. Where if you buy something brand new, you're going to use a cashier's check or something along those lines.
Just bank account to builder.
Yeah, and you're not going to get any return on investment on that money that you're spending. You know, so not only is it cheaper to DIY, but also on top of that, you're going to get some benefits of cashback rewards from these credit cards.
Right. But also always pay your credit card off in full on time.
Bingo.
That's our disclaimer, because it's very expensive to carry a credit card balance.
Yeah.
So do not play that game, because we know some friends who basically financed their whole build on credit cards and then were just drowning in credit card bills and couldn't really enjoy their life on the road because every month they had to like come up with this much money, and they had just quit their jobs and like they weren't sure how they were going to make the money, but then their credit card bill was coming in and blah, blah. Like felt very stressful.
The biggest thing is like you want to try to make it as little stress as possible. The reason why we got into this lifestyle was because we wanted to travel, see a bunch of places, do as many things as we possibly could that we wanted to do on our bucket list, and just check things off right and left. And the lifestyle itself, from trying to find places to sleep and finding places to park that are safe, and like you're not going to get the knock, that's stressful enough. So you want to knock down all the other stress as low as possible, so that way you could feel really good about this living situation.
And especially the first couple of months on the road, I feel like are the most stressful because you probably haven't lived in a van before. So like the like learning curve and the getting comfortable with all of this like new stuff can be a little bit stressful.
And that was as a couple without a child in our life,
or even a dog.
Like now as a family with a dog, there's even more things that we're thinking about and trying to make sure that everything is right. And that brings more stress. And so it does make it a little bit harder, but at the same time, it's still totally possible. And we find so many amazing moments in it.
I was just going to suggest, if you are somebody who's struggling with maybe you did get a little bit of credit card debt, or maybe you are a little bit stressful about how you're going to sleep in your van and how you're going to live and blah, blah, blah. You could always, hopefully, park in a friend or family member's driveway for the first couple of months and maybe keep your job for the first move into you don't have to, it doesn't have to be 100% or nothing, right? Like you could move into your van while you're still in your hometown, while you're still working your regular job, while you're figuring out okay, I'm going to pay off the build over the next however many months, and then I'm going to hit the road.
And that might actually be the best way to do it, because then you have all the comforts of home in the sense of your family and friends, and the ability to go hang out with the people that you enjoy the most, that you know and love, and continue to finish up, doing that job to make enough money to pay everything off.
And also, if something goes wrong, then you're somewhere where you could fix it.
Yeah.
So if you're in your parents' driveway, which I know is not the sexiest place to live, but if you're there and your water pipes burst, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Because you're somewhere that you could deal with it. That's all I'm saying.
And I understand if you want to get away and jump right into that Instagram style van life thing. I get it. It's definitely possible to do that as well, but you're going to build a lot more stress that way.
Maybe, maybe not. It all depends on you. You got to do what's right for you, right? That's why you're doing van life in the first place. You want to make it right for you.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is so true. That's what it's all about, is doing the life that you want to live. Whether it's van life or anything else, you want to do what you think is your dream in this lifetime, because, we only have so much time to be here.
We're just providing some helpful suggestions to make it the best. Because what else we got, Frank?
We got insurance. Insurance is a big thing, right? You want to be able to take care of yourself. You want to be able to go to the doctor. And not only that, you also want to be able to take care of your vehicle. And just in case you get into an accident, whether you have a bunch of stuff inside your vehicle, it definitely makes where the cost could be hefty.
I think everybody knows you need to have car insurance.
Yeah,
right?
That's 100.
100%. But then the tricky bit is that now is my car my house, but it's not probably an RV. So it's not registered as an RV, unless it is, which case makes this a little bit easier, because then you can get RV insurance.
Yeah, and then all the insurance companies have caught on to what van life and bus life is. So some companies won't even cover buses.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a shuffle, song, and dance that you have to do to get your self-converted van insured properly.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things that you could do is go to the DMV with your vehicle, or here in Canada, we would go to Ontario's Service Ontario, yeah, and go have your vehicle, whatever it is that you built, deemed as an RV, or you could.
You have to wait until it's all the way built, because there's different check boxes that need to be ticked.
It doesn't have to be built and look fabulous, but what it has to have is 3 different things, and I think that's water, a bathroom, and I forget what the other thing is. But it has to have these 3 things, and then they deem it, they retitle it as an RV, and that then allows you to be able to get insurance as well as resell it a lot easier too, because now somebody could get finance for it.
Yeah, because selling a used Ram ProMaster
that's depreciated in value
for $100,000 because it has a van build in it.
The bank is what?
The bank is never going to give somebody financing. Actually, this is one of the biggest problems that our friends, we have many friends, even us, when you're selling a rig, it's hard to find a buyer because a lot of people want to buy it and they think, oh, I'll just get it financed. But the bank won't finance it. And so if you're buying a used van that's not titled as an RV, you're probably just going to have to come up with $80,000 cash.
Yeah. So like,
or whatever the price is.
As the person selling it, you're trying to find a buyer that's willing to pay cash for it or has that much cash laying around. So that could be hard. And then for the people out there that have the actual RV that's titled as an RV, they could actually go to the bank and get financing for it.
Sometimes,
it could get appraised by an actual person who could come out and appraise RV. And so then that gives the bank actual credible information that says, yeah, this is worth this much money. And so the bank goes, okay, we could stand behind that. You know, we could finance X amount of dollars of this.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky. But also I feel like too, like the pop-up of like people building their own van and reselling it has exploded too. So then the market has exploded and there's so many different websites where you can buy vans. And actually some of the websites where you can buy vans from actually offer financing through their website.
Yes.
So that's something to think about also. But then, you know, you're going to be paying interest.
Interest, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so back to insurance. You do have to get it insured. Don't not get it insured.
Yes.
We also got a renter's policy to cover like some of our assets inside of the vehicle.
Yes.
But yeah, it's always like a little bit tricky. And then also the rates have just gone up exponentially over the years.
We did make sure to like ask the insurance company at the time, because my buddy was actually the provider of the insurance. So I asked him like, will this cover stuff in our vehicle? And he said, yeah, just as long as you have receipts and you could show that it was in the vehicle. If it ever got into an accident, it got totaled
or stolen from.
Yeah, you could prove that it was in the vehicle and then you would get the money for that stuff.
And then the other insurance is health insurance, which is, I think, a really bigger problem for people in the United States.
Yeah.
Because most other countries have some kind of socialized health care.
Yeah, but typically that stems to just their country, not beyond their country.
Sure, yeah. So if you're Canadian doing van life in Canada or European doing van life in Europe, I don't know if it if you have like European health insurance in Portugal, does that work in Spain? Or do you have to get coverage in Spain?
My guess is probably some type of form you could fill out and then, I don't know. They might pay some of it. Because I know there's something about Canada that does something similar.
Well, Canada because technically you're covered by Ontario, but then you could go to British Columbia and still get coverage. It's just they have some kind of like a mutual system or whatever.
Yeah. And so with all that being said, we don't know everybody's situation when it comes to country, but we know ours. And for instance, for me, I'm a permanent resident here in Canada. I'm not a citizen. And since I'm from the United States, I actually can't get Safety Wing. Yeah. So we'll travel to the United States and Alex and Everly will have Safety Wing, but I can't get it.
Safety Wing is our travel insurance that we buy whenever we're going to go on a trip. So we're about to go to Europe. So we went on the Safety Wing website, got it for all three of us, no problem. But for whatever reason, they won't insure Americans in America. They'll insure travelers. So Canadians can get American insurance. There is a little bit of a premium that they charge for coverage in the USA because I guess it is the most expensive in the world.
Yes.
So anyways, it's just something to think about. But they actually have a program where you can pay, the one that we get is just essential, but they have a complete one that's more of your forever care kind of thing. So it's more just getting regular health insurance anywhere that you want. I don't know if that covers the USA also, but all of these things are stuff that you have to research yourself because everybody's case is so different and unique and special. And maybe you need a ton of prescriptions or you need whatever. Somebody actually reached out to us personally. It was asking about maternal care and how could they get it and da-da-da. And I'm I don't know. This is what I did and this is what I know. Yeah. And that's all that I know. I don't know. I would love to help you, but I don't know how.
Yeah. And like we were saying, everybody's situation is different. And for us, we knew that as long as we could see the baby and know that there's a heartbeat there, all good. For one of the visits.
When we were in the States.
But when we were in Mexico, it was actually fairly cheap to go and get these services done. And
without insurance.
And then when we got to Canada, Alex was able to get her insurance right away. And so we were able to do everything via insurance in Canada. And we're fortunate to have the situation that we have to where we can have the health care for our child and for ourselves.
But yeah, premiums are up. Do your research. Get something because nothing worse than feeling sick and feeling like you can't go to the doctor.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Or like being worried, like, oh, I broke my arm, but do I really need a cast?
Yeah.
Because it's probably going to cost me a couple $100. Like, you want to be covered so that you can just take care of yourself.
And there are definitely exceptions to all different, healthcare systems. The United States healthcare system is actually great. It's just very expensive if you don't have healthcare via a job. And then the Canadian healthcare system is great also, but wait times are a lot longer because of the way the system works. And so, teach their own.
Don't talk shit about Canada. You're going to get kicked off the podcast.
No, I'm not going to kick you off.
I'm going to kick you out of here.
I'm not talking anything bad. That's that's the exact reason why I actually said that is because, somebody's going to take saying expensive the wrong way. And so that's why I was like, just because we're saying it's expensive doesn't mean it's not good care.
Right.
And just because we're saying that it's taxpayered or free, as some people would call it in Canada, doesn't mean you have bad doctors here,
Right.
There's great doctors here. Just like everywhere else, just like the lines are a little bit longer. That's the difference.
Yeah. All right. Next on our list of expensive-y things that have gotten more expensive over time is actually where you're sleeping every night. So campsites, even free locations, things like that. Yeah. It's all gotten like a little bit trickier. I feel like for us, campsites were always too expensive because we were on a super extreme frugal budget when we got on the road. And so we never wanted to pay for a night.
Yeah.
And so back then it was maybe 40 or 50 bucks a night. Now it's like 50 to 80 bucks a night. Sometimes like I've seen campsites for like over $100 a night. And I'm like, what?
I feel like the last debate got a little bit heated. We're sitting by the fireplace at a campsite and just messing. But honestly, I think that campsites, just like everything else, have went up in price because property tax might be more money or insurance might be more money or whatever it is. And also there's a demand for it once again. So it's like that supply and demand aspect. The price is going to go up.
Like in Ontario, friends of ours, we were trying to book a camping weekend for the summer. They like to book campsites. We went to go book it. Got online 7 a.m, the day that it gets released, 6 weeks before, blah, 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 whatever. It was completely sold out before the page had even refreshed.
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
Like the demand is there. They're selling the campsites, whether they're $100 a night or $5 a night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that I really liked about traveling through Mexico and Central America was that the campsites, like the max we paid was $20 a night.
Where?
At the hot spring spot.
That was 30.
That was 30.
Yeah, it was very expensive.
Yeah, but all the other spots were like $5, $10.
It's funny though, because we say that was very expensive, but most campgrounds in the U.S. now are at least $50 a night.
Yeah.
And on average. And then you will find some that are cheaper once again. And same in Canada, I think they're about $60 a night, which would be a little less than the 50, when you do the exchange, the U.S. to Canadian dollars. But the fact of the matter is that it all has gotten more expensive. The nice part about a campground is the luxury of it, like having power all the time. Being able to, typically they have a shower there. You can go take a shower. They have laundry typically there.
Garbages.
So there's a lot of
pool or like stuff like that, like real nice amenities.
There's a lot of conveniences. And one of the ways to actually bring that cost down is to actually pay for a full month. Or more. If you do a full month or more, they give you a big discount.
Yeah. The other way to see if you could get a discount is by checking out the campground's social media, because sometimes they'll share coupon codes or things like that, especially if they're like trying to fill like a weekend last minute or something, if they have availability, whatever. Or if you book way pre-season, you could usually get some good discounts.
Yeah.
So something to think about if you're like a planner, a header, and really like campgrounds. There are ways to get them for less expensive.
Yeah.
Or like memberships like the
KOA.
or the what's the 4 Trails or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know the name of that one.
Yeah, but so you could get a campground membership if that's something that you liked it, like you only like sleeping at campgrounds. Perhaps look into a membership because it might make sense for you financially. But for us, we prefer boondocking and free campgrounds or like free spots.
Yeah.
Like parking lots and stuff like that. I feel like since we started traveling with Everly, we have paid for more campgrounds. But then also the other thing that we do that we really like is Harvest Host, because So Harvest Host and Boondockers Welcome amalgamated into one website now, so you can pay one fee to get access to both, or like all the different things that they offer. And I think it's like $150 a year or something like that. So I'm in that ballpark. Don't quote me. But then you get free nights accommodation.
Yeah.
So we've stayed in a bunch of Boondockers Welcome's driveways.
Let's put it this way. If you paid $150 for a hotel a night, we only paid that once for the whole entire year.
Right.
And then we get the opportunity to stay at a bunch of different places.
Right.
So it pays for itself in like the first 2 stays, I would say.
Yeah.
Like all you need to do is 2 stays in a full year and it's paid for itself.
Yeah. And that's something that you could usually plan like 0 to 1 to 2 days ahead. Like you don't have to be like a super plan ahead booker.
And typically those places, what we'll do is sometimes they'll charge for if you want like an electric hookup. And which is fair because you're using their power from their house. And it's normally like anywhere from $5 to $15 depending on the person. And sometimes they won't even charge you. Sometimes they're like, don't worry about it.
Sometimes they put it on the site and then you get there and you say, oh, how much do I owe you? And they're like, oh, don't even worry about it.
Yeah. And the thing is that we use those every third or fourth day, depending on our power situation. If we're in a place where it's like always sunny outside or whatever, and we can pull in enough power to take care of our full load that we need, then we don't have to hook up. And so on those times, you don't even pay for power.
Right.
So it makes sense.
Well, and then also you could choose that option at campgrounds as well, because usually they have sites that don't have hookups, and then they have sites that have hookups, or they have half sites where it only has electric and not sewer. So like depending on what you need, there's like different level of campsites that you could book. So you could technically book the cheapest campsite, but it has to be big enough for your rig.
And typically that goes based on like the coast that you're on. So like West Coast has a lot taller trees, a lot less sun when it comes to the blockage from those trees. And
you're talking about electricity.
For electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you don't have like
a DC to DC charger,
that makes a big difference. So you might have a rig setup where you never need to be plugged in.
Right.
And in that case, Harvest Host is incredible.
Yeah. Because most of the restaurants don't have power hookups.
Yeah.
But they do have a parking lot where you can stay in, and like it's nice, and the restaurants are usually pretty good. Like we've had really great meals at Harvest Host restaurants. The farms are really cool too, because that's like feels like you have to spend maybe a little bit less. Like they want you to technically spend $35 at the store, which used to be $25. So that's gone up. But so they want you to spend $35 at the establishment wherever you're staying. So Boondockers Welcome, you don't necessarily have to pay anything, but Harvest Host, you're supposed to buy something.
I wonder if they think that's like per person or per rig.
Ooh, I don't know, because per person would get pretty expensive, because then it would really be like $70 total. But like if you're going out for dinner, you're probably going to spend at least $50 anyways.
Yeah, minimum.
And I don't like the places that we've been, nobody's been micromanaging like, oh, well, your bill was only $65 and with the Harvest Host, you're supposed to pay $70. So
it's not like a mandatory thing. It is like a very, I wouldn't even say it's a stern ask, but it's like one of those things that they kind of expect for you to do.
It's like an honor system.
It's an honor system.
Yeah. So that's one of the ways that we've been getting free campsites. The other thing is funny. So one of the best apps that used to be for getting free campsites, now you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Which is iOverlander. There is a free version of it, but the free version is really kind of annoying. And you can only download like one place at a time. And it's just like
one state or one province.
Yeah.
Or
so
like,
which is fine and totally doable. But then you get to the new place and you're like, dang it. And you got to uninstall and reinstall. It's just more like thinking about it. But so this kind of brings us to our next point, which is all of the different.
the free camping.
Okay. Yeah.
We're losing a lot of free camping.
Yeah.
You know, like the Walmarts are shutting down some of their parking lots for it. You have even some of the Cracker Barrels in certain places that don't allow it. You have a lot of public land that's being sold to private people, or being used for mining or other things. And like that's stuff that's going to happen and always change throughout time. But the fact of the matter is we won't ever get back the public land that is sold private. And so those are the things that, has changed van life. And not like totally, but it's changed it. And the more people that are out there doing van life, that are staying at the Walmarts and staying at these places, is going to shut down these places if you're not taking care of them, if you're not doing the right thing and being a good person and cleaning up after yourself and others.
I think one of the biggest downsides that we saw when van life like exploded was that a lot of free campsites were getting trashed. And so there were people who were going, we don't know who they are because we would show up after the fact, and it would just be like a mess, like garbage everywhere, trash everywhere, beer bottles, whatever. And you just are like, this is a beautiful free public land that is so great for camping. Like, it's literally set up for camping. Like, there's camp spots all along the road, whatever.
Yeah.
And somebody just came along and completely fudged it up. So now the city or whoever, the county, has to spend resources, time, money to clean that up when nobody's paying to be there in the first place.
One of the saddest ones for me was the one in Washington.
Yeah.
And like the first time we got there, it wasn't necessarily like perfect pristine. It was great. It was amazing. But the campground across from us had like crap buckets and like
toilet.
Like somebody used a toilet there and like left toilet paper everywhere, or an animal got to it and they just left it like that.
Right.
And that's terrible. Don't do that. But then the next time we went back, there was like 5 vehicles and like an RV that was like burnt up in the spot that we parked.
It looked like something crazy had happened.
And then as we went up further into the hill in the car that we had at the time, we saw like abandoned RVs that had graffiti all over them that were like hanging off the cliff. Like, just my guess is that somebody probably stole these vehicles, drove them out there, and then created some type of fire to like get rid of evidence, and then left. Like, because that's what used to happen in Brooklyn. That's something that like people would go steal cars. They would drive them up to what we call the point, and then they would burn them on fire up there. And then so there was like a bunch of cars that were like in the swamp area, that were lit on fire.
Okay.
Because it was like a ditch spot, So my guess is that was what potentially could have been happening, but it looks so bad on the community. Mm-hmm. It makes it look like somebody from the community did something like this.
Like the van life community.
Yeah, or like, nomadic life.
Mm-hmm.
But that might not be the case. It might just be somebody burglarizing something.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, so basically all we're saying is that to help prevent this, obviously pay attention to like local laws and things like that, or like big petitions. Like if, the government's trying to get rid of public land and there's a petition that you can sign to like keep public land public, sign it.
Yeah.
But then also when you actually enjoy these places, clean up after yourself. Yeah. And leave it better than you found it.
And after others, in other words. So like just because somebody else left it doesn't mean we can't pick it up.
Totally.
Obviously, if it's something that you think is going to cause some harm to you, don't pick it up. Call the proper people to come out and clean it. And that's the other thing, too, is like you could call the services of the park and say, oh, I found this.
Yeah,
what would you like
it's a
me
sharp
to do?
Or like needles or something, you don't want to pick it up.
Or even just if it's garbage, right? Like, hey, what would you like me to do? I'll pick up a couple bags and bring some back if you like. Or like, will you guys send out a crew of people to come clean this?
Right, yeah. All right, next up. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I feel like my monthly subscriptions have gotten out of control. And I keep a spreadsheet of all of this stuff, like our fixed monthly. And I'm like, everybody wants my money. They're like, the free plans don't exist anymore. Everybody wants like a little bit here, a little bit there. Like, I feel like every single month Spotify's like, your plan just became more expensive. And I'm like, well, what? Nothing changed. Why?
And we don't use any of those apps, that are out there. That's an advertisement to get get all these subscriptions and pull them in for you, and then clean them up, and then you delete them. We do this by ourselves.
I just have a spreadsheet where I keep track of everything.
Yeah,
but like everybody wants your money, and even now all these like camping websites want your money as well. And then I feel like one of the biggest expenses on the road now is your internet.
Yes.
And so there's a ton of different ways to get internet, but I think that now Starlink has kind of become the gold standard, which is probably the most expensive way to get internet, because not only do you have to purchase the kit,
Equipment,
which is almost $1,000, then you also have to pay the monthly fee, which also keeps going up, but it's about $150.
Yeah.
So that's like a pretty big monthly fee to kind of think about in your overhead.
Yeah. So as you're adding all these things up, it gets really expensive. And like what we said, what we do with our Starlink is we put our subscriptions on pause when we're not using them. That's the nice thing about Starlink. But they have changed that too. It used to be able to put it on pause and pay no money at all. Now you put it on pause, you have to pay $5, I think, a month to keep it where it's just stagnant, very low use.
But then you also At the $5 a month plan, you get slow, a little bit internet.
Basically, by myself, when nobody else is on the internet, I could stream YouTube. I could leave our security camera up and going. So, and be able to access it. So it is fast enough to do some stuff, but you won't be able to have multiple devices on it.
No, and it's not like you could like upload a video or like do like real big streaming.
Yeah, and for us, that's a big part of our business. And I understand like that this could be a business write-off, a tax write-off, and that's how we utilize it because it is part of our business. We have to have it for our business to be able to upload video and to do our job. So it's a good way to potentially change your taxes as well a little bit and have it as a write-off. So I wouldn't say this is a terrible one because it is a tax write-off, but it is something that gets very expensive very fast.
Yeah. We used to have a PepLink that it was also kind of an expensive system. So it was like almost $1,000 for like the hardware. And
It's
then
probably more now. It's probably like $1,500 for the system.
But then you could get a local SIM card, or we used to have an AT&T plan that was $99 a month for 100 gigabytes or something like that. I can't remember the exact specifics. But then you could put that card in. And then when we went to Mexico and Central America, we could get local SIM cards and then pop those in there. And so that was a lot more affordable, especially when you were in like Guatemala and you just got like a Guatemala SIM card.
Well, especially when like our T-Mobile worked everywhere, but then when we would get to a spot where it was really like not good service, like maybe they didn't have any towers in that area, then we would use the local stuff. And the local stuff would be fine. And then we wouldn't have to buy like a crazy amount of local data. And so that helped a lot. And the other really, really cool thing about that PepWave was the fact that you would be able to pull up like outside of a Starbucks or a Walmart or whatever. And we would be like in the far part of the parking lot and we would be picking up the signal of that establishment. And so we would go in, buy something, and then be able to be outside, do our podcast or do a video chat or whatever it was and be able to continue to work while on the Wi-Fi of the place and not have to worry about like us not having a reliable connection.
Yeah, no, it was definitely good. I think with it, there was a little bit more like finagling where like, okay, we got to get in front of the Starbucks so that we can do our thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas with Starlink, it's just like you put it up and then you have it. And then you can get mounts like the Trio flat mount and then it's just on your roof and you never have to like think about taking it up and down.
Yeah. But the nice part about it was when we were at, say, like a campground or an area that had Wi-Fi, but like the Starlink was up and the Starlink had a lot of blockage from trees, we'd be able to use the PepWave to connect to the campsite service and grab the Wi-Fi from them so that way we could actually utilize it. It would amplify the actual signal.
And like
so
push it into the house.
It'd be really fast and really good. And when you're in a metal box, sometimes Wi-Fi from outside is hard to get. And so that's what we really liked about having that, extra antenna out there that would help amplify our space and allow us to utilize it inside our space.
But yeah, so I think for internet, it's kind of like, what are your needs and then what is your budget? Because if you don't need super fast, reliable internet all the time, then you really don't need to worry about paying for any of this stuff. But for us, it is important to have super fast, reliable internet pretty much most of the time.
Yeah.
So this is a new expense for us that we have to just like eat.
Yeah, and I mean, that's fine. Once again, like we said, this is our job. So it's okay to have to eat that cost because we know that we're going to bring it back in. And so the thing is that I think about when it comes to like this lifestyle being not cheap anymore or more expensive is, for us, maybe it got more expensive because we're doing a lot of business work through it, where for somebody who's just kind of out there and about, it probably has gotten a little bit more expensive, but not like crazy amounts. But the fact of the matter is that even just going to a mechanic is more expensive now. And being able to buy parts for your vehicle is more expensive now. And so all this stuff just adds into it being cheaper. But that means it's also more expensive for the people living in the home. It's not like the price of being in a house went down.
Right.
If anything, it went up. And so I guess
Van life is still affordable.
Yeah, it's
compared to living in a house.
Yeah. If that's the route you're trying to go with van life, you could find it.
Well, and also it's like, what is your goal with van life? Is your goal with van life just to like explore and get wild and, spend all your money and do lots of amazing things and see the world? Or is your goal to live really frugally so that you can afford a down payment on a house in 3 years?
Yeah.
Like everybody comes to the lifestyle with like a different goal
Yeah.
for van life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really just depends on what you're looking to get out of the lifestyle. And like for us, it was about like traveling as much as we could with the money that we had. And when we first got on the road, we didn't have a lot of money and we weren't earning any money. So we had to figure out how to do it as frugally as possible so that we could stay on the road as long as possible.
It probably took us about 4 months before we started like really earning money on the road. And at that point we were like, okay, we could like continue this lifestyle for an indefinite amount of time at this point. And thanks to the social media, you guys listening out there, the people that go over to our YouTube and watch our channel, that's how we make our lifestyle and our living. And that's what made this lifestyle possible. And it made us giving you this information possible. You know, if it's not for you guys, we don't have anything. So we appreciate you so much.
We definitely do. But I will remind you that when we first started making money from YouTube and stuff, we earned like $1,000 the first month. And we were like, that's enough to pay for everything.
Yeah.
Because our monthly budget was $1,000.
Yeah.
Like, just think about that. Like, now our monthly budget is like way more than $1,000.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know if that was just like the time or that's just like now we are willing to pay for and need more things or whatever.
We also lived frugally.
Yes.
Like we were very penny pinching in
Yeah.
the sense of like we were not going out to eat. We were eating at home all the time. Groceries were less expensive. Fuel, we were getting diesel at the time. So we got a larger range out of our vehicle at the time. But I think maybe it was like $2.50 on average for diesel. It's nowhere near that anymore.
Well, and also when we were traveling in the States, especially in the southern states, the cost of fuel is a lot lower than the northern states and a lot lower, especially than Canada.
Yeah, but even when we were traveling through Vermont and all the northern states when we were doing the snowboarding, I think we were paying on an average $2.50, a gallon for diesel.
Right. Like it was not expensive.
No, I think for the whole entire travel across the country to all the different mountains.
Like to be over $3 a gallon, we were like, oh my God.
It was the 3-month time where we went to 72 different mountains and I think we spent $1,200 in fuel.
No, that's not 100%
was it
true.
18?
There was 1 month where we spent $900 in 1 month.
Yeah, but it was
because we were like boom, boom, boom that whole month.
So it was a total, I think it was a total of $1,800 though for the whole entire trip.
For the whole winter.
For the whole winter, using diesel, driving a ridiculous amount.
Right.
We went to 72 mountains, not just in one area, all across the country.
Right.
That's crazy.
That is very good. I feel like the cost of fuel has just gone up.
Yeah.
And hey, it went up just again today.
Yeah.
And
that's going to vary. It's going to change.
aside, yeah.
It's going to change. It's going to vary. It's going to go up. It's going to come
and
down.
then also, like we're saying, if you have a choice, you choose where you want to do van life, right? To a degree. And then you can also choose how quickly you travel.
Yes.
Because if you don't want to fill your gas tank, you could just stay in one area for a longer amount of time until you do want to fill your gas tank.
And I think that's one of the big reasons why Alex recommended earlier to start your van life, maybe by your family, by your friends, doing your job, that you've been doing, saving up that money to get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm ready to get out there and go check some stuff out.
Yeah. Well, and then also like a lot of the bus lifers that we know, they only move their bus like once a month.
Yep.
Because the fuel for the buses, they have a really big tank and they don't get to go very far on it. So they want to fill up that tank maybe once a month.
Well,
right?
I also think it's the stress aspect, like we were talking
Right.
about earlier, right? To move a 40-foot bus every
Plus a
single
tow behind
day
vehicle.
is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And a lot of movement. And you could do it. Rolling with the Ophelia does it quite a bit, where they move around quite often and they're loving it, but also at the same time, when they're ready to go hang out at their family's house and let go, they're de-stressing from the constant movement. And they are amazing people and they have a beautiful bus and they are pillars in the lifestyle of how to do it in a great way. They get stressed out too. We all do. It's just part of it.
Yeah.
And you get stressed in any lifestyle. It's all about how you handle it and how you look forward to improve your life the next day.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, you have the choice of what does your budget look like and how do you want to spend it?
Yeah.
Because if you want to spend as little on fuel as possible, you can explore one area very thoroughly before moving on to the next, or stay in one place indefinitely and then never move on to the next. It's up to you.
So we feel that if you guys listen to the episode fully through to this point, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Make sure to share it with somebody who you think might find this information really good for them. And this is why we think that van life is not a cheap lifestyle anymore.
No, but it can be if you're strategic. So if you make the choices that are right for you and your budget, and you have to like look at your budget. I think a lot of people have this thing about money where they don't even want to look at it or talk about it or like think about it. But you need to map out what are your expenses and where maybe could you cut and what do you absolutely need.
Yeah.
You know, and so if the whole build phase, maybe you don't need all of the bells and whistles that you thought you might want. When we basically every time we build a van, I have a list of like, these are all the things I want in our van build. And then Frank slices that list in half because of time and money and space or whatever. So like you can dream as big as you want to dream, but eventually you have to come to reality of like what is in your pocketbook and then make that happen. And I will tell you, some of the people on the road having the best times have the simplest rigs.
Yes.
You do not need every single bell and whistle to enjoy van life.
The bells and whistles do help, though.
They are very nice. And I think that once you get them, it's hard to not have them. But if you're starting without them, like Lolo was pretty basic.
Yeah, she
and
was.
we had an amazing time.
Yeah.
But then we were like, oh, there's a couple of like luxury things that we would like on our next one. So we added those. Yeah. And then for the next one, we added those. And then the next one, you know.
I think the biggest luxury that we added with the second one, though, was reliability.
And a shower.
And knowing... Yes, but knowing that we would go all the way to Panama and back and not have an engine issue. Mm-hmm. That was the biggest thing that we could ever imagine, is having something reliable. Mm-hmm. And I would go out there and say, if you could afford to get something reliable, do it.
Yeah.
It's very well worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people overlook the mechanics for the aesthetics. Yeah. And that's a big mistake because the aesthetics aren't going to cost you a lot of money down the road. You can always add or enhance or whatever. But if you ignore the mechanics, that's where the big bills come up.
Yeah. And we're trying to avoid those big bills out here. As you guys know, FnA don't play when it comes to big bills.
I love big bills.
We like getting the big bills, but we don't want to give the big bills out to fix the van.
I feel like that was complicated.
Because I actually also will put out the big bucks to fix the van if I have to.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. It's like we have a slush fund.
Yeah.
That's like a just in case of emergency. We got, $1,000 in the bank. That's like, we don't touch that money. That $1,000 is just in case something goes wrong.
Yeah, we do want to start being able to utilize our money to go and enjoy experiences more so now, I think, too, as well. Like before, we were doing some experiences, but we were holding off on a lot of experiences because we were trying to be frugal with our money.
But also, we have more money than we did then.
We do, yeah.
Before, we were kind of budgeting to like, our last dollar every month. Where now, we have a little bit more cushion
and
to
once
enjoy
again,
things.
Back to you guys. Thank you so much, for supporting us, because you guys are making our dreams come true, making our lifestyle beautiful, and being able to spend 24 hours with our child as well. We're just so thankful for you guys.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Like Frank said, share with a friend. And we hope that you all have an FnA day.
Bye.